Thank you all for being here today at Hillside Memorial Park. Before we begin, could we please take a moment to silence any mobile devices if you haven't done so already? And I'll give you a moment to do so. Thank you. Thank you. We are gathered here today to honor and remember the life of Betty Ann Vincent Karl. Officiating today's service is Rabbi Stephen Jacobs. Thank you.
A selection from the book of Ecclesiastes, known around the world, familiar to probably most of you. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to slay and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to cry and a time to dance. A time to throw stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time for solitude. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to discard. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time for silence and a time to speak. Having spent a good part of the last 2 months speaking and meeting with Betty and with Christian, we had some of the most uplifting conversations. Betty, as you knew her, was quite candid, and she shared her thoughts whether you liked them or not. And she was just that way with me. I got to know her actually years ago through Allison, who was a member of the congregation, the children growing up. And when Allison called me several months ago, I live up north, I said I'd be honored to fly down and to be. And in the meantime, I made a commitment to spend time with Betty. Betty, in many ways, was kind of a portrait of many lives. And I was thinking as I was preparing for this time, she wanted a funeral, but she really wanted a celebration of life. And that's why we're here. There are a lot of wonderful words, and you will hear them to be shared. But she was a character in search of a character. And she found that character in her journey, a journey that was not always kind or pleasant. But I must say that her life with you, Christian, was a blessing. And I know you are not a religious man, but you and Betty made me a religious man because you gave me great hope. So as I thought about the many conversations with Betty and my long career, is with people. Life is with people. I thought of Ernest Hemingway's words. He wrote that the world breaks everyone, and afterwards, many are strong in the broken places. Had Ernest Hemingway known Betty, he would have written those words. The world breaks everyone, and afterwards many are strong in the broken places. And I think there are two truths to Hemingway's statement. The first is that sometime, soon or later, All of us are broken on our journey in life. Defeat, disappointment, sorrow are a common lot of all people. If there were an X-ray capable of giving us a picture of the human spirit, we would find that we all show evidence of some emotional and psychic fracture. And Betty was very honest about that. Most of us keep quiet and we're too proud to share that part of our journey. But each one of us, if we were honest, were broken at some place in our lives and recovered. Some of us have suffered the break caused by deep frustrations, a career we sought but did not attain, a loved one wooed but failed to win. Some of us have been haunted by a sense of inadequacy, by physical or mental abuse, by blasted hopes, by unrealized dreams, by losses that we cannot recapture or forget. This was the essence of our discussions, and always upbeat, even as she approached death. She was upbeat. Having been broken, she actually died whole. A person, the Bible said, is born to trouble as surely as the sparks fly upward. Trouble is not a gate crasher in our lives. It has a reserved seat there. Heartache is a passkey to every home in the land. And that's what I grew to love about Betty. Her honesty, her journey, fractured but made whole. But Hemingway talks not only of our common vulnerability to being broken, he reminds us that we can later become strong in the broken places. And surely she was strong as she reviewed her life and the choices that she made. When trouble and suffering are concerned, you and I have the power not only to confront, we can be very creative. Many of us are strong in the broken places, not all. Some are embittered by suffering, some are overcome by self-pity. Why did it happen to me? But then there are others who understand that some of the most noblest human traits flourish in the challenges of life. Compassion and kindness, fortitude and patience, sympathy and humility. These are part of the rich harvest that can ripen from the dark seeds of pain. And this was Betty's journey. She wrote of it in her book. Those elements, she shared it with those of you who love. She made us lie. She made us laugh. She made us cry. She made us wonder. But that was the gift that you shared with her and the family shared with her. Allison, Michael, Andy and Kurt, Christian and Brother Robert, and all of you who have come here today to celebrate Betty's life. Please join with me in the familiar words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In many ways, Betty was a poet, and I want to share with you the words of a woman poet, Juanita DeLong. She penned these thoughts. Do not come when I am dead to sit beside a low green mound, or bring the first gay daffodils, because I love them so. For I shall not be there. You cannot find me there. I will look up at you from the eyes of children. I will meet you in the swaying boughs of bud-thrilled trees and caress you with the passionate sweep of storm-filled winds. I will give you strength in your upward tread of everlasting hills. I will cool your tired body in the flow of the limpid river. I will warm your work-glorified hands through the glow of the winter fire. I will soothe you into forgetfulness to the drop of the rain on the roof. I will speak to you out of the rhymes of the masters. I will dance with you in the lilt of the violin and make your heart leap with the bursting cadence of the organ. I will flood your soul with the flaming radiance of the sunrise and bring you peace in the tender rose and gold of the after sunset. All these have made me happy. They are a part of me. I shall become a part of them. And I would like to call up first Andrew, and then Alexandra, and then Shayna to share loving thoughts.
Thank you. So first I want to share my heartfelt sympathy to Christian, who's taken such great care of my mother since she became ill, but also from day one when they first met. Thank you, Chris. So for my part, I thought I would relate a few random observations, stories about my mother. Some of you will recognize these, but they're little things I'll remember about her. She was a really good interior designer and was a perfectionist about it. I even helped by carting stuff around from different design shops in my van. So not satisfied with the available products, she designed her own kitchen and bathroom ceramic tiles and wallpapers. Once she was choosing a sofa, I'm not sure for where. She had a choice of a 6, 7, or 8-foot sofa. She needed a 7.5-foot sofa. So she had the guy make him a special custom sofa. She had a company, I remember when she had a painter working on our house on Rodeo. And the guy was painting the ceiling. She made him paint it 4 times before she was satisfied with the color white. I tried to explain to her that white can change depending upon the time of day and the lighting in the room. Not satisfied with off-the-shelf Christmas ornaments, a couple of times we had ball decorating parties at the Longford, where she bought different size green satin balls and then eventually silver satin balls that were custom decorated. We all sat around and had a big party at the table, decorating with jewels and beads and little ropes and braids. And they were beautiful and unique and ended up on her white Christmas tree, or white flocked Christmas tree, looking like it just stepped out of a department store. So one year she took my brother, sister, and I to New York in 1969. We watched the first moon landing at my Uncle Irving's house in South Orange, New Jersey. And then we were staying at the Plaza Hotel. The rooms we were given were overlooking a construction site. Obviously, that would not work for my mother. So while she and my sister went off to the beauty parlor, I was assigned I'm 16 years old. I was assigned the task finding a new room. So we ended up in a suite on the 2nd floor, overlooking the park at 59th and 5th Avenue, which was great, especially when the New York police were called in one night to handle a huge anti-war protest. I thought it was very exciting. It was perfect. Great trip. And she loved to travel. Her favorite destinations, one of them was a trip to Tahiti early on. And then when she was with some family friends, and then to South Africa, from where she brought back a pair of 6-foot-tall carved wooden giraffes. They sat next to a couple of palm trees at the Longford living room for many years. She even had Santa hats for them at Christmas time. I don't know where they are. Where are those giraffes? They lost the giraffes. So back in 1960, my father, Marshall, who's right here, was president of the Beverly Hills Democratic Club. At the convention at the old LA Sports Arena, she was one of the Golden Girls for Kennedy, a group of VIP hostesses and runners. They would carry messages. She believed that she personally carried the message from John Kennedy to Lyndon Johnson, offering him the vice president spot. I'm disappointed for her actually not being able to see who wins this year's election, but you know darn well who she'd be voting for. Her father, Papa Alex, was very clever when it came to making puns. I seem to have inherited that knack, but she had it too. On many occasions, she or I would make a pun and sit there looking at each other, trying to make another pun on top of that pun. Eventually, she or I would give up. We'd just say, that's it. But you could still see us laughing as the gears were turning in both our heads, trying to still top that last pun. Anyway, I'll leave you with a little piece of advice she gave me many years ago. She might be surprised that I still remember it. And to a certain extent, I live by it. She said, no matter what they tell you, people do what they want to do. And that's how she lived her life. She did what she wanted to do. Thank you.
I want to start off by thanking everyone for coming to my grandma's party, as she liked to call it. Yes, family was involved in bringing it all together, but I think it's worth noting that she was the true architect of this event, this little soiree that we are calling her funeral. You know, it's funny, I have a BFA in performing arts. I'm really good at talking. I know, I'm like really given the drama. Okay. As many of you know, my grandmother was a bit of a party girl, so she was bummed that she couldn't be here to see all of you. And that she couldn't be here to see her friends and family in one place, but of course she is here. And I can still feel her with me, holding my hand, giving soft kisses on my cheek. Okay. It was no secret that my grandmother and I had a very special bond. I admit we were a bit cliquey. Oftentimes at family gatherings, we would find ourselves gossiping in the corner like a couple of schoolgirls. We shared a similar sense of humor, similar taste in wine, and a similar knack for both waking up and staying up late. She was the self-proclaimed president of my fan club and my biggest cheerleader. She never missed a dance recital, a play, or a showcase. I could always count on her being there. She was the person that I could confide in when I needed an understanding ear to talk to. We spoke of boys, which turned to men, career moves, art, music, politics, lots of politics. Honestly, we talked about everything under the sun, and I'm sure many of you have experienced the same thing. My grandmother was a master conversationalist, an excellent listener, until the day she died. I never doubted whether she was paying attention to what I was saying or if I was boring her. She was always right there with me, locked in. She was always honest with me, even sometimes a little too honest. but she was incredibly open-minded and was always down for a good debate. And she would openly admit when she was wrong, but stood stern and stubborn when she knew she was right, and she would admit to that too. My grandmother loved all things beautiful: clothes, design, architecture, flowers, food, and men. She taught me how to view the world in color, how things aren't always black and white. I remember sitting in the back seat of the car as a small child on our way to something or whatever, and she would say, "Oh, wow, look at that tree. Or check out the color of this flower. Look at this building. How elegantly that woman is dressed." And I'm just driving down Wilshire Boulevard, like, she gets so excited about everything. And I'm in the back seat going, "Yeah, Grandma, it's a tree. Yes, flowers are pretty. You know, it's a dirty old building. And that woman is really skinny. She would probably look elegant in anything." But as I got older, I was able to recognize that her ability to literally stop and smell the roses was really her greatest virtue. She really tried to find and experience the beauty in everything. She lived a glamorous lifestyle, but had a deep appreciation for the simple things: coffee in the morning, good food, good music, time with family, and of course, sex, because who are we kidding? This is Betty we're talking. She died at the age of 92, but her heart and spirit never got old. She would often ask me to play the music that the kids are listening to these days. And I loved playing her newer music, finding out which songs she liked better than others. For the record, she liked Billie Eilish's music. Her fashion, not so much. My grandmother was a true progressive. She fiercely believed in women's rights, LGBTQ rights, and was really worried about the current state of division in our country and its upcoming general election. Now, under any other circumstances, I would not stand in front of a large group of people to talk about politics. But this is my grandmother's eulogy, and it simply didn't feel right to talk about her without mentioning how much she deeply cared about making sure the big orange guy does not end up in the White House ever again. I am of the personal opinion that the recent switcheroo in our party's candidate and the overall uplifted spirit of the Democratic Party actually allowed her to feel the sense of peace that she needed to finally rest. She was a fighter, and she fought so hard. Life meant so much to her. The trees, the flowers, the clothes, the art, her family, her friends, it all meant so much to her. You all meant so much to her. Everyone, including those that are not here. I hope we can all carry these lessons with us moving forward. Stop and smell the roses. Find the beauty in life. And vote. Thank you.
That was a tough act to follow. Do my best. When it comes to Betty, there were and are no easy words to say all I would want to say, or even say goodbye. I feel grateful for the extra time we had, having the opportunity to share so much with her about my feelings and love for her while I could. So I've tweaked something that I wrote and actually read to her to share with you today. First and foremost, fudge cancer. Seriously, it went a little different how I said it to her, but we'll abbreviate that today in the presence of our rabbi. Betty wasn't just a second cousin once or twice removed. She was so much more to me. She was my person, my wise auntie, my grandma stand-in, my true confidant, and the wisest bestie anyone could ever ask for. She was a true Betty, as I used to always tell people. She had this incredible way of making you feel special, or empowering and inspiring you with just a simple conversation, or even a voicemail. I'm lucky I saved so many of them, so many that my voicemail now is eternally full because I have so many of hers on reserve. There will never be another Betty who could give advice like hers, who could listen and really tell it how it is, and who could make you feel like you were singly the most important person in the entire world. Every visit, every lunch and dinner, every late night call, and every text, we shared so much. And I've treasured it all. When I became a mother, nobody was more excited about my baby than Betty. Her joy was infectious, and joining the motherhood club felt less daunting with her cheering me on. We had the best times together, from stories about the Lefkowitz clan, to listening to her records, to hearing about her adventures, and her amazing love story, and for Chris. Betty had a way of making everything feel like an adventure, and I'm so grateful for all the memories we created together. Sharing my events and projects and designs with her brought me such joy and love, and hearing about her creative endeavors from back in the day. Just as much, Betty was a true creative force, a visionary whose artistic talents knew no bounds. Whether painting, designing fashion, and crafting beautiful interiors, her impeccable eye for detail and her unique ability to bring her visions to life was nothing short of magical. I'll never forget her sense of humor, especially when it came to my nails, which I'm hiding today because I didn't get them done before today. It's the one thing I wanted to do. After a particularly wild manicure, she looked at me at lunch and said, "Those are just too much." If I saw those nails, I'm not sure I'd want you designing for me. Classic Betty. I've never done wild nails again. She had this ability to keep everyone grounded, even as she encouraged us to dream big. And that's why I'll keep pushing to get my mom on all of her tasks, not just for her, but for Betty too. But because Betty was always rooting all of us to be our best. One of my greatest joys was seeing the bond that Betty had with my son, Maverick. I can't wait to show him all the pictures of them together and tell him all about his amazing third cousin. How Betty was full of love, creativity, wisdom, and really how much she adored him. We're all gaining a guardian angel in Betty, but that doesn't make saying goodbye any easier. I wish I could bottle her up and keep her in my pocket forever. But instead, I kind of decided that I'm going to look for her in my designs. And those little signs she'll send to remind us she's watching over. I think I've heard Mrs. Robinson 3 times since last week. Her spirit will continue to shine down on us all. Her creativity, passion, elegance were reflected in everything she touched. She loved deeply, and I loved her just as much. I know we're all going to miss her every single day, but I also know that one day we'll be together again, and until then, we'll all do our best to take care of the people that she loved, because that's what she would have wanted. I love you, Betty.
Arthur Rubinstein, the great pianist, was once asked after a concert as to how he played great music. And he stopped and he said, "It's the pause between the notes." After listening to the 3 of you, this is the pause between the notes. of a woman who played a great concert in her life. Her love of people, her growing love of herself, and her love of music. Some of you, maybe many of you, who know the great violinist Yitzhak Perlman. If you've seen Yitzhak Perlman in a concert, you see that he walks onto the stage with braces on both of his legs, on two crutches. Yitzhak takes his seat, unhinges the clasp in his legs, tucks one leg back and extends the other. He lays down his crutches and places the violin under his chin. On one occasion, one of his violin strings broke. The audience grew silent, but Yitzhak, this great violinist, did not leave the stage. He signaled the maestro for the orchestra to begin its part. And Yitzhak, the violinist, played with a power and an intensity on only 3 strings. With 3 strings, he modulated, changed, and recomposed the piece in his mind. He retuned the strings to get different sounds and turned them upwards and downwards. And then, of course, the audience screamed with delight and greatly applauded their appreciation. Asked later how he accomplished this feat, Yitzhak, the violinist, answered, "It's my task to make music with what remains." It's my task to make music with what remains. A legacy mightier than a concert. Let us make music with what remains. For us to complete the song left for us to sing, to transcend our losses, to play it out with all of our heart and soul and might, with the strength that comes from that remains with us. What a blessing. What a legacy. What a concert that he provided for us. Now I'm going to say something personal that I never do in a situation like this. Some of you know, and Betty certainly know, that I share a political life. I've been involved in the Democratic Party, and when Betty and I, who was a fervent person talking about politics, we got around to politics, she had heard about my wife, who's running for governor in 2026, another Betty E. And she said to me, "Stephen," she says, "at my funeral, make sure they know and get them to vote for her." I would never take the chance in doing that. But don't hit me because I'm flying back up north afterwards. But that was Betty. She loved the art of politics, and she loved the fact that my wife was running for governor in 2026. The only regret she had is she wanted to stand by me at the inauguration. So the family has prepared a video, and we're going to show the video in a minute or so. And then we're going to conclude the service with the traditional Kaddish prayer, the mourners' Kaddish prayer. So we will do that, and I really thank you all for being here and being part of this journey. Okay, we ready?
somewhere you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, the dreams that you dare to, why, oh, why can't
Now we come to the conclusion, and you can either sit or rise as you wish for the Kaddish prayer. It is it's not a prayer that deals with death, it's a prayer that essentially thanks God for life. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah b'yomad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon of yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael b'agalav v'zman koriv v'yimru amen Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach v'yolam u'meyomaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalol shemei dekudisha brichu le'elam mimko birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran b'yamav v'yimaru amen Yehei shlama rabba mim shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen Oseh shalom b'mramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. May the source of peace send peace to the soul of our dear Betty, and for all of you who knew and loved her, may her memory be for an eternal blessing. And let us say, Amen. Thank you all for being here. This concludes the service. You can all talk to each other now.
Ladies and gentlemen, please note that the family has invited you to a gathering at the home of Robert Coleman. If you need the address, it can be found on the marble lectern as you exit the double doors of the chapel. Thank you.